Hey everyone, hope you are doing well. This is our Sunday school video for this week, and this Sunday we're going to be in Unit 11, Session 1. And in this unit, we're still in First Samuel, and right now we are right after God has rejected Saul as king. So our first point that we're going to be looking at this week is David is chosen by the Lord. So we're in First Samuel 16. This is going to be verses 1 through 10. So God has rejected Saul as the king, and it is now Samuel's job to go out and anoint the next king. And it said that God will anoint a king that is a man after his own heart. And so God sent Samuel out, and then he is to go find the next king. So he comes along this man named Jesse, who has a bunch of sons. And what he does is Samuel comes up to them, and he sees them, and they look strong. They look big and healthy, and what you would expect a king to look like. So Samuel comes up to the first one, and it's like, this must be the one God has anointed. And then it's a no, that's not the one. Well, he looks at the next one. This has got to be it. And it's a no there too. And it keeps going down. And he finally looks at the guy, and he's just like, "Do you have any more?" And that's where we're at with our first one. Is Samuel's looking for the next king based on the outward appearances, right? He's looking for a king based on the stature, based on the appearance, rather than what God's looking for. God is looking at the heart. And so, um, for our kids, this is important because oftentimes we do this ourselves, right? Um, in a way, we kind of show just on the outward appearance, right? We think if we just go to church, if we go to Bible studies, we do all these things that people will see, you know, we are considered better Christians, right? And people will see the outward appearance, but they don't see our hearts. God sees our hearts. He sees the inward appearance, and that's what um, Samuel wasn't realizing was God was looking for the inward appearance rather than the outward. So yeah, we might do great things like going to church and doing all these things, going on mission trips, but if our heart's not right, that's what's important. God sees our heart. So that'll be what we'll touch on for our first point. And then the second point is David is then anointed by the prophet. And this is 1 Samuel 16, 11 through 13. So this is when David is then brought upon Samuel. And they go out, and David is just doing his job. He's a shepherd. He understands that's what he's meant to do, and he's doing a good job at it. And he's diligently working in the field when they come up to him. So they come and get him, and the Lord tells Samuel, "This is the one. This is the one you are to anoint." And we just see that David is just a good example of what we should be doing as believers. We should be doing what we're called to do and doing it well. And when God appoints us to a new position, to a new job, a new location, we are to do it well. We are to follow God's commands and do what He has called us to do. And that's what David was doing. He was doing his job well, and he was ready for what God had called him to do. Which brings us to our last point. David is servant to the king. This is 1 Samuel 16, verses 14 through 17, as well as 21 through 23. So at this point, Saul is still in reign as king. Even though God has rejected him, he's going to finish out the remainder of his as king. And so Saul then becomes, it says, as soon as the spirit of Jesus is upon him, there's an evil spirit that begins to terrorize Saul. And so he becomes worried, and he needs help. And he needs somebody to play a harp and to help him soothe and calm down and get over that feeling. And so David can do that. And so they appoint David to help him. And so David begins to play, and he calms down. And then he gains favor from Saul. He's liked by him, and he's now the helper of Saul, who is the king now. And David was appointed to be the next king. And so it just shows his humility, how humble he was to serve when he was yet supposed to be the king. He was willing to help Saul in a time where Saul's and we'll get to it, but Saul is going to be the one that tries to kill David, and yet David serves this man. And so our students should get from this that we're called to be a humble servant. We're not called to raise ourselves high and lift ourselves up, but to lower ourselves and to serve rather than to be served. So that'll be our lesson for this week. Once again, I appreciate all that you do for our ministry and just leading our students in the way that you do. Thank you and have a great Sunday.